Dun, 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 dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to our big final discussion of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or I guess maybe we could officially call it Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Joining me tonight, we have the artist extraordinaire, Mr. Terry Huddleston.
Hello. And you know, I have to agree with the internet on this one. It was weird that they give us this Bucky Barnes arc, but he's still the Winter Soldier in the title. Like, I was like, ooh, you know, that like it was like one little like
Yeah,
you know,
it's like
Captain America and Bucky Barnes, or we're like figured out, but it was like he's not the Winter Soldier anymore, man.
I know it is. It's one of those feel good, like, yeah, he is Captain, and then you're like, okay, well, first off, this is very similar to Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
We just changed the little connective sign.
I'll bet you they're gonna go back and like do like, because Disney will do that. They'll do like a shadow Lucasing. I'm making up a word of their stuff, where they'll go back. If you watch the old ones, you're like, man, these are incredibly continuous. Like, no, not. They just went back and like kind of, you know, edited some stuff in and special effects.
What do you think it's going to be? Captain America and the White Wolf?
Well, see, that I don't know if they earned that either. Like, they didn't really reinforce it enough for me to be like, oh yeah, like I get it, but like that still sounds like he's a predator.
That's true.
It's like Captain America and the T-800, you know,
right?
Like it's like Bucky Barnes, or James Buchanan Barnes, you know. But and I don't care. But it's just one of those things that it was like a little thread on a perfect sweater, on a cashmere sweater, that it was like, you know what? Now I'm pulling it, and it's like, oh no.
They'll just have to straight shorten it to just Cap and Bucky.
Dude, actually, you know what? That's seems like a dumb solution, but that's actually not a damn bad solution.
Yeah,
Cap and Bucky. Yeah.
Especially if they're going for like a Young Avengers new move with the new generation, then that might fit in. Yeah. Anyway, that's a long introduction for all of us here. You can see where we're going today. I want to be sure to say hi to Silva Surfa, who is driving currently, but listening to us safely on YouTube here on his headset. So Silva, definitely drive safely there. We appreciate you, as always, joining us. To everyone in the archives, thank you so much. And if you find yourself enjoying this here review, please consider hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button. It's the end for Winter Soldier here for us, but we do have Loki, and look, it's the year of Marvel. It's nonstop.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a couple of weeks of break, and that's it.
Yeah, it's and what's crazy. So, I don't regret my HBO Max purchase. Like, I've gotten to make fun of and laugh at some of the worst things I've ever seen, and that's got money value to me. Like, I would definitely pay to see something this pretentious. We know what we're talking about.
Sure.
But Disney Plus has been the moment, right? Like, you feel like the uncool kid. We're at a position where comic book TV is the cool thing cool kids are talking about. Like, You didn't watch WandaVision? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you don't know about the conspiracy theories? And so, yes, I feel like I'm happy that DC was able to cobble together a platform that, you know, I appreciate, because it actually has real movies on it, whereas Netflix doesn't. But Disney Plus, I feel like it's still operating at like 10% Death Star capacity, and it's still murdering every other streaming platform.
Just warming up, just getting the basic things done. We're only watching
one show at a time. Like, after that, we're bouncing right off of the platform. Like, well, I'm out of here. Doesn't matter to them. They don't get a pay-per-click.
I think that is a smart thing that Disney has done, is realizing, especially, you know, seeing where the pandemic was going. I think that helped them sort of lay out their stuff very well. But to realize that no, people unsubscribe if there's not a show on that they're not going to watch. And Disney was hurting for a little bit there. It had Mandalorian, but not a whole lot else that was like you had to watch. Yeah. And now they just get their top property, and it's like Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Star Wars, and you will watch because they're keeping the quality up.
Well, yeah, it's going up and up. Even Loki looks more cinematically aesthetic than Bucky and Winter Soldier. Like, I watched the trailer, I was like, this looks like a straight up film release trailer, not a TV show, and I really, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, I can't imagine another show that's looked as good as these current Disney shows.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like you could say Game of Thrones, like maybe that last season, even though story-wise it was a train wreck, but I don't know, man. This is like weird to see movie quality on TV, like on an episodic format. I
think that's something with their vision that they found, because while HBO, and I'm sorry, folks, I know it's a little bit of try, but this is good stuff. HBO has their signature series, but it's like one drops and then you go through that and then you wait a while and then another one drops and then you wait a while. And there's too much of a gap, I think, that was sort of set up between. Now you've got AT&T purchased, you got a lot of the creative vision for HBO gone, and now they're bringing up Warner going, okay, we got to play catch up, man. We got to get in, we got to do this, we got to get on top of it. And, you know, and again, they're just outpaced. They're outclassed. They're the John Walker is streaming right now, man.
Wow. So redemption arc then is on the way, then, I guess. And the thing is, obviously, look, when two titans compete, you know, the customer wins until one of them loses. Right? And really, it's what, Hulu, and I know it's like, why are you guys talking about it? Because this is important. Like, Disney Plus is literally hinging their whole platform on one show at a time. They're literally Tarzaning their way through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like HBO Max is literally tap dancing for their lives. They're just like, here's a Snyder cut. Here's this. Here's the Wonder Woman movie. You want to see King Kong Godzilla? What do you guys want?
And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed watching Big Monkey fight Big Lizard.
Yes.
Okay?
I
Sitting down and watching that was great. Mortal Kombat, I was like, you know, I appreciate that at least I have something new to watch.
Yeah.
Whether it was satisfying is beside the point. I appreciate them giving us this, here is something to watch.
Yeah.
But it's Mortal Kombat. It's you're like, oh, here is some nice stuff. And Disney is like, here is a gourmet meal. And when you're done with that, we have another
You
gourmet
literally
meal.
stole my analogy. I was going to say, like, DC's like eating, like, cotton candy, where you're like, there's nothing here. Like, I'm still hungry. And Marvel's like, I'm so full. Like, I could use a little bit of a break between all this excellent food we're eating. So, yes, I totally agree.
Yeah. So, okay, with our big buildup then, and as this series, which, you know, is the new water cooler talk, everybody's watching it, everybody's loving it, the Twitter is going insane, the social media is on fire. What did you think of the finale? Did it wrap things up satisfactorily, or was it like, it was good, but it really was a series as a whole that was your meat? How did you sort of take this sort of wrapping up of the story?
Well, so I grade this on the same curve that I grade Black Panther on, whereas is the story they're telling innovative? No, not at all. But the dive of the theme they're taking is so risky. With Black Panther in this show, Black Panther dealt with Pan-Africanism, which most people don't even know what the hell that means. But, like, to deal with how African blacks view American blacks, like, I wouldn't touch that. Like, if it's like my money on the line, I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know, I'm going to just do a big beam in the sky, the world's in trouble type movie. So, and then this movie doubles down on that same kind of, like, risky theme that could turn off literally 53% of the population that not agree with the stuff they're putting down. So Disney says, because people have been kind of calling out these core, like, oh, they don't really give a crap about social movements. I felt like Disney put their money where their mouth is with this show. They literally could have did a people-pleasing show with clear good guys and clear bad guys from an American perspective. But they chose to muddy the waters on everybody. The SJWs didn't get what they wanted. The hard right-wingers didn't get what they wanted. People on the hard left. It was finally a movie for me because I'm a centrist. I was like, yes, I'm finally somebody that's like, hey, you shut the hell up. Hey, you shut the hell up. And let's all, you know, get on one accord. And so people don't realize how rare it is to find centrist entertainment. Because most entertainment that comes out of Hollywood skews to the right? So people deserve to be shot if they commit crimes. Murder is viable. Like, you don't even think about it. But, like, it's what I was saying before, what made Sam Wilson so innovative is the fact that he's not driven by anger, rage, and revenge. Like it's so commonplace for male protagonists to be driven by one of them. You kill my family, you kill my mother, my parents, you kill my daughter. Right. But he's not driven by any of those things. So of course he was the perfect candidate to get the shield once you stop and think about it.
Yeah. Well, and especially he is one of the few that actually has worked to identify with the struggle of the antagonist, as it were. That this is, that was the whole discussion, a couple episodes ago is, look, I agree with your fight, just not how you're fighting it.
Right.
And I think that's something, and it led to a really, I think the best, the kind of central moment of this episode, which is, of course, Sam's big speech to the senator and everyone else kind of after the whole action sequences are done. And I do want to get into that.
Yeah, but Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
You gray hairs out there remember that movie.
But I just want to say for just one moment there. So I just thank you. So getting to that moment, because personally, while I loved how the show wrapped up, and I thought that was a kind of a perfect wrap up. And you always have, I think, the problems with final episodes because you've got to give a satisfying action sequence and a satisfying finale to that arc. But then you also have 6, 8, 10 episodes or a season, depending on of stuff you've got to sort of wrap up with as well. Bucky wrapping things up, what happens with Sharon, Sam going back home, the whole family thing, which always adds on this whole like chunk of time. So
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So it always feels like in these last episodes, you've got to squeeze that last moment in really in the beginning. And I got to say it, in some ways, I think it kind of underwhelmed me in that sense, which isn't a complaint. I enjoyed it. But because you've got to rush into the fight and then it's just like, okay, we run in and we're doing catch up and now we chase the plane and we chase the helicopter, we chase the van, we're all split up. It felt a little, I don't know, just I guess formulaic in the sense. Here's Falcon, he's got a new suit, we've got to do something where he flies and fights. We had a good, again, hand to hand. I like the fact that his final fight with Carly really was more of her fighting him than him fighting her.
Yeah, much in the vein of how Spider-Man fights go, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not here to break your neck, even though he could. He's basically trying to talk you down while fighting you at the same time. Yeah. Like I said, we don't have a lot of those heroes, type of heroes anymore. Like everybody is literally a super cop.
Sure.
No pun intended there. Like literally, that's what they are. And I get what you're saying about. It's what I said before. Like, was the formula innovative? No, not at all. None of the formulas are innovative. What Marvel is really good at is letting you hear a song you like, and performing it very well.
Right.
Like a little flourish here or there. But like I said though, if you can tell me the other media that dealt with race and politics on a serious level, because The Boys kind of gets a wink, wink, nudge, nudge because it's satire, right? And so it's easier for them to make wide sweeping statements without really saying anything at all. And I love that show, but it's not really saying anything but people in power be bad, which everybody knows that.
Sure.
That's not, anything new. Whereas I felt like Marvel knew they had the microphone. They know you're not going to turn the channel because this isn't on a channel, right? You're paying for this subscription. And if you come this far, if you made it past episode 2, you already know what you're in for. So I feel like they took the microphone and they might have went on about a minute or two too long with pontificating. But at the same time, I can't be a hypocrite and go, oh, they're just corporate cash in. Like they literally wasted however many $1,000 per second to let him give that speech in front of my kids. See, right. It's different when you're just a jaded adult, the world's a crap sack and everything sucks. But watching that in front of young black kids, which is what I have, that meant something to me. That was Superman, Donner movie, Superman giving a speech about being a good person and how you should do the right thing and directly to your kids. Like there's not many heroes that are communicating directly to your children. Right. And if they are, they're communicating through violence. Like, hey, the madder you get, the more powerful you'll get, son. And you need to fight through all your problems. And so I thought it was it definitely, from an entertainment point of view, it'd be like a gladiator pit where the gladiator throws down his shield and starts giving a speech. You're like, hey, I kind of watch it get eaten by lions, but okay, he is talking facts about the Roman hierarchy. Okay,
right?
All right, yeah. So yeah, tonally, it kind of came out of nowhere, but at the same time, I did get where they were going. Like I said, with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and older movies that tried to have a message. So.
Right. But it also, again, it was the kind of perfect summation. It stated who Sam was as the new Captain America, why he would be the Captain America, looking at all sides and really fighting for that ideal of what we're all striving for, as opposed to, the reality, the messy reality of where we are all in. So, I mean, I think it was kind of a perfect thing, and also for the show to kind of have that to summarize everything. I mean, I don't know. So some criticism I've heard is that it was almost a little too on the nose to be like, okay, so the themes of this series have been, and then laying it all out.
I get that, but when what sucks about the poly nature of our culture is that if you're not on the nose, like, anybody can take your message and run with it, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, he was really supportive, dude. Like, we were doing the John Walker parody, but I think the thing that made me nervous about that, like, some people were gonna be like, "Oh, this guy is right on the money," and yeah, we need people more like, no, guys, So I like I said, I get why with this particular issue, I will take once again, I'll grade on a curve and go, hey, go ahead and be as preschool as you want because it's novel. Really haven't had a lot of aspirational black superheroes give these kind of speeches.
Sure.
You do it again, diminishing returns, right? Like, okay, you guys had your shot. Like, don't do this every thing where we get a speech about how racism be bad.
Right. But I think it was also good because it not only dealt with race, but power structures as well, which, again, another big theme throughout this series. And you're right. Sometimes, once you have the attention, you have to kind of deliver the message directly. That's what the show did. It got a great action package with some good, phenomenal actors that were able to bring some heavy concepts and present them in a manner that was digestible.
Right.
And if you want to take your, your social ideals and bring them entertainment and make that actually work, I think this is the way to do it, because I didn't find it particularly preachy, as in the sense of showing why this is Sam's perspective and this is why we're going.
In 2019, I definitely would have. I was a different person. But now that we went through people literally storming the Capitol, right? And so when he's talking about Kylie Morgenthau, I'm thinking about those guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know it's easy to go, oh, they're just liberal SJWs. It's like, well, there was some people on the other side of the fence that wanted to basically smash the system too. So let's not pretend that, people groups can form into these disgruntled groups to do, group activity stuff. Okay. And once again, had I not ever seen that with my eyes, which nobody could predict, yeah, that would have felt really flat. Like, okay, dude, these are the weirdest soft form terrorists I ever seen, right? Like, she's adorable. But seeing what we did see and how the internet pretty much got a lot of people riled up to do a lot of things that we wouldn't think would happen here, right? Their famous last words. I felt like it might, to quote Dark Knight, it wasn't a speech we wanted to hear, but it was a speech we needed to hear at the time. We have to do better. Like, there's really once you get done nitpicking the argument, like, I think that is the theme of 2021 is we have to do better than what we've been doing, because in the words of Antoine Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, if the rule you followed led you to this, then what good is the rule? Like, if if our societal norms led us to like one of the greatest shutdowns of our time that we can in human memory, that other than with the Black Plague, and we have modern civilization, so it's probably worse per capita, then what good was our societal structure if it doesn't work to help the people?
Right. No. Exactly. Well, and even bringing up the point of like, when you're making these decisions, who's in the room with you?
I love that.
Is it the people who's affected, or is it just someone else like you?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Now, obviously, not only having people together, but those people being able to listen and discuss and try to find common ground. But that's a different story for a different time.
Right. Right. Well, I've often said though that just relating to that point, and I find I'm going by straight class and not race. When you become a certain class, and I'm middle class, like you only talk to other middle class people about other people's problems. So you don't actually talk to poor people, right?
Sure.
And so you form these kind of hive mind group think about why you think they're poor, but you never think to go like, why don't I just talk to somebody that's poor? Right. And it's weird. It's like the last thing you think of when you look on the pundits on the news. Everyone, they're not poor people talking about poor people economics. It's scholars, and I went to school and I'm the 50-year economics guy, and I'm going to tell you about poverty. But they never talk to poor people about poverty. And that's been one of the things that I've been saying for the past 10 years, because I came out of poverty. I come from poverty up to middle class, and I realized that it's a weird morality thing to where we believe the poor deserve their lot in life, and we also have that Puritan work ethic where we feel like people must suffer to get money. Right. It's a really strange paradox.
It's odd how we do ascribe a certain morality to social status, that if you're poor, well, obviously that's your own fault, whereas if you are rich, then you are being rewarded for your success. Yes. And those are blanket statements that miss a lot of the reality that's there. Yeah. So while I think we both agree that the speech at the end was definitely perfect for Sam, I think it established him as Captain America. It made a great statement to us as the audience. It was beautiful representation and a statement of why he is there and what he understands and where he's going for. So let's get surface value here and boring. What did you think of the new suit? The big Wakandan suit.
I was taken aback a little bit by how comics accurate it was. And so it took me a while to adjust to it. I didn't love it immediately. I felt like, man, that's a lot of white, on the top. But once I realized, they're going for more of a bald eagle vibe. Like he looks like the American eagle, and so white on top, color on the bottom. Especially if when you see it in other scenes. And I designed suits, so I was like, hey, you know what? I see what they're doing there. But he's so dynamic to look at in action.
Oh yeah,
like you really stop nitpicking the other stuff. And I feel like just gotta grow on me. It's something different than what I was expecting. I mean, when it was Wakanda time, I'm like, oh, is it gonna be all black and that'd be sweet? But at the end of the day, it's about the man in the suit and not the suit itself. Because Captain America had some terrible suits. Like, let's not forget.
Oh yeah,
that first Avengers suit was like, oh God, I hate looking at that thing. Like that is a complete miss for me. And I think the one I started liking was the Winter Soldier suit.
Oh yeah, a little bit more subtle, not quite so inspiring. And I'm sorry, Phil Coulson. I know you helped put designing that suit, but yeah, it was a little painful.
Love the movie. Love Cap. I still love Captain America. Was my favorite character in that movie. But that suit, just to reiterate, the suit doesn't make the man makes the suit. So.
Indeed. I enjoyed it. I love the fact that they are going that Disney is kind of embracing the comic accurate, as Ramona Floyd is.
I definitely got my version of it. So I'm embracing it. Like I said, I think it's a cultural moment that that's not gonna go down lightly. As somebody who works in the Comic-Con industry, and I've talked about this in other talks I've had, but the multiplicity of the race groups that love and buy and look up to as their favorite character, Black Panther, means something to me. Might not mean something to anybody else that's had 50,000 heroes that look like them. But when you only got, once again, one or two aspirational Black heroes, I want to keep hammering that because, like I said, the vigilante cowboy with a gun thing, that doesn't count. Black people don't get to run around with guns and murder people and be called heroic in real society. Like, I'm sorry, newsflash, that doesn't pan out well. If you ever
agree. I think the representation is important, and not only that, in that positive sense, because it's not some killer. This is somebody who is not superpowered going up against superpowered guys. It is somebody that understands what he's fighting for, that's not doing it because of hatred, but doing it because he's trying to do the right thing, and not, I mean, what was it? Steve Rogers in the first Captain America, when they're talking about, do you hate when Erskine asks him, do you hate Germans? It's like, I don't hate anybody. I just don't like bullies.
Yeah, great.
Or I don't want to kill anybody.
Answer,
yeah. I just don't like bullies. And I think that's why Sam is such that kind of perfect continuation, is because he's trying to do it because it's the right thing, and not because there is some cultural or current society saying you need to do this. He's not doing it because of outside pressure. He's doing it because of internal guidance.
I actually always joked about, in 2020 definitely brought it in the sharp focus, writing a book about what white people taught me that they forgot. And because there's certain cultural norms that isn't necessarily taught by black culture. Not necessarily that we have a bad culture, but like white culture used to push, you don't talk about politics and religion. Remember that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's out the window. Like, I still ascribe to that because of all the media I consumed as a child. You know, you got Andy Griffiths walking around without a gun, right? Like, so we got, like I said, more aspirational characters per capita in entertainment and from our generation. And then for some reason, America got cynical, like all of us writ large. Right. I mean, once again, even rap music used to be positive and upbeat, and everything shifted towards this dark, gritty, oh, you don't know the truth. Everything's kind of got a Watergate. It's all a scandal. Nothing's what you've seen.
It's all got to be edgy.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Game of Thrones briefly. I mean, that's another. I love the show, but it kind of ruined fantasy. Now everybody wants dark fantasy, and it's evil, and the elves they're doing cocaine, and it's like, okay, guys,
that's right.
We can still go back and have fun. So and that's why I will always be probably Team Marvel until other companies can figure out how to inject fun. And some people have, like I said, The Boys is really fun. Does not take itself seriously at all, even though it's dealing with some serious subject matter. It's still like 15-year-old grade, 12th grade level. It's not deep, and it's not trying to be deep. And I don't feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier was trying to be deep either. I felt like they were keeping it nice, and even
they're finding the line between giving you a variety of storytelling, a variety of genres, and still, again, keeping it. It's still palatable. You can still eat it and enjoy it, and have a great time with it. Where you don't feel like, look, I love some of the Oscar movies, but when I have to sit down and watch them, I'm like, okay, man, this is going to be like, I got to watch some cinema and be sure to understand. And this is something that can still give you some great messages, some great stories, some great writing, but keep it in a fun, digestible package.
Right. I just watched a show called Them, and at first I was like, all right, this is kind of interesting, and it's the central premise is race. Right. And over time, it was just like, it just drove off a cliff, and it ended up being torture porn, and it's just like, you guys are doing, anybody who is racist, like, you're doing them favors by making people think like, oh, this is what racism looks like. They're all just demon monsters that do horrific stuff, and it just, so it's not like I'm a shill for anybody doing any race positive stuff, because I'm not. And Black culture, we're not dumb enough to just fall for every single time there's a Black person in a positive light. Like, we gotta, oh yeah, this is exactly it. But I think what Falcon Winter Soldier brought to the table was that it had a little bit of a texture to it and an intersectionality, because you could talk about Sam Wilson, Captain America, Stars and Stripes, but if you look at Sharon Carter was kind of like the dark side of that, right? Like, she still kind of got her comeuppance, but after the man got his first, right? Sure. Right? Like, even though he was a Black man, she still had to come because he did something, a man did something that kind of cleared the way for her. But then to have her still have that duality of power, the power broker, and her position, to me, people were upset about it. We can get into this, but I thought it's a great way to make your character 10 times more interesting. Like, she's a rogue. She's a rogue character now.
No, this is a perfect transition. We'll jump back to Walker in a little bit, that way we kind of do a wrap up, because this was one of the main things I kind of wanted to get into today. Because, I mean, you and I have talked, I love this move for Sharon. I love her being effectively the power broker. That is she on our side? Is she on someone else's side? Is she on her own side? Where is she? That question mark, it makes her so much more interesting of a character, with so many more possibilities of what you can do with her. So that move I love. The problem that I have with our final reveal for the power broker is it just makes me question every choice she made throughout the show, which seems almost counter to her own interests, which is why it talked about that in many ways a lot of her moves, I think, serve the plot to helping drive Bucky and Sam's story forward, but did not really help her out at all.
So let me pose a counter.
Sure,
you're the power broker, which you might as well be called the chess master at this point. That's
sure.
She has two powerful knights on her board that she can get to basically do her job for her, which she wants to find Kylie to exact revenge, which is exactly what she does.
Sure.
Right. So I can see what you're saying, because I think the reason why you think that her moves were antithetical to her motivations is because you still think she's good, but she's not good.
Oh no, I'm not. No,
she wanted her dead, and she's dead. No, they're all dead.
That's not it at all. No, I am totally fine with that particular thing. I'm talking about, I mean, for one, I hit it when we talked the episode, so I don't want to dwell on it too much, is why the hell did she kill the golden goose? Why did she sacrifice the doctor that creates the super soldier serum? She says at the end, I don't have super soldiers anymore, but now I have access to all this extra stuff. Why wouldn't she have a fake doctor? And why did she let loose this whole crowd?
I'm going to take the fetal position here and let you kick me while I'm down, because I don't got an answer for that.
But and again, there doesn't have to be answers, in the senses that was a big loss. While you could see that she was like, hey, I'm taking a risky edge and I'm fucking badass. I can kick the crap out of anybody. So I don't mind if some low life bounty hunters are coming in. That just makes me look like I'm on Bucky and Sam's side, and make it,
Plus, I think they did give you the answer to that when he said the power broker's gonna pretty much make me pay the price for losing this the scientist serum. So once again, I think everybody she wanted dead ends up dying by some event that makes her hands look clean. But
should we assume she has the formula then? Because I would certainly, if she has the formula, fine.
You know what? If it goes to my grander theory, is that she's working for Thunderbolt Ross or whatever Val is working for, and that they're working both sides of the table to basically get a foothold on all the pretty much the dark web type information that's out there. I'm such a boomer, but so yeah, I guess here's my cheap and easy answer, that might be yet to be revealed why she was making moves that didn't make sense. Yeah. But I watch enough 24 to be along for the ride. Like I'm a big 24 fan.
Sure.
And she's like right out of 24's playbook. Everybody was always a quadruple agent. I'm going to betray you, but it's like, I really wasn't betraying you. I was helping you, but I had to look like I was a bad guy because blah, blah, blah. And then by the end, it all gets wrapped up. Of course, in 24 episodes, but we only had 6. So, right. But now we have this cool kind of Neo Shadow Hydra-esque government thing again that Marvel, they kind of squandered it a little bit. I think they used it more for the TV show, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know that's your thing, but in the MCU, Hydra really didn't do anything major, right? So it seems like they're kind of recouping that.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with Feige retaking over, whether or not they're going to acknowledge a lot of the Marvel television stuff or do a pick and, rumors are floating around. They may do a pick and choose, like we'll take characters, but we'll ignore whatever history was there. Marvel's going to do whatever they're going to do. to me, at least seasons 1 through 4 can live safely in MCU continuity without any real hiccups for AOS. So I can keep that in my own head canon and heart and be fine with it. And like I said, I do like where she is going, but even some of the final moves at the end. Okay, her showing up in the U.S., she's taking a risk. I get the risk. It's calculated. I have no problem with that.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is it a risk, though? I'm just what I'm saying. I just don't buy anything about her in a good way.
Considering she didn't even wear a bulletproof vest and let Carly shoot her at the end there. I mean, that was just not the smartest thing to do, a face-off with no backup.
But didn't it seem so staged? Didn't the Batroc death, everything felt so staged for Sam's benefit. I'm telling you. Sure. She's playing them. Or they got really bad at shooting action all of a sudden. But it's like which I tend to think the fact that Sharon is basically, she wanted exactly what she got. She gets harmed, like, oh, poor me. Look, I got injured saving the country. Just give me that sweet pardon. And and I know we're harping on this for a while, but sure. I think she's just a plot thread. I will admit they didn't give her an arc that was satisfactory, but it's a plot thread like in a old school Josh Whedon type show where you're like, all right, they're going to come back to this at a later date in Buffy. That's what this feels like.
Yeah, Ramona Floyd's mentioning here, she kind of just limped off and healed rather quickly. She didn't think that she was really hurt. So, and yeah, again, even those choices, I don't have a problem with. Like I say, I like where they're going and the fact that there was, back and forth and unexpected reveals. It's just one of those things with how careful they've done so many other things that her usage and decisions just felt a little sloppy. It was like it serves the story we're playing, but I would have to know a whole lot more to realize how all these parts are intelligently designed by her and not just like, well, I'm glad that worked out, because that feels less power broker and more, less chess master, which I would like her to be, than someone who's just like, well, I'm glad that worked out.
I got a call out for people. I'm really good at doing this because once again, as a centrist, I can jump on the other side of the fence. Everybody universally was like, John Walker killing that helpless guy. What an evil asshole. I hate him. He's the bad guy of this show. Meanwhile, Baron Zemo blows up a van full of them, and you're like, newsflash audience, you're all pieces of shit too. Like we just, because of POVism in stories, we're like, oh no, he evil, but when character we like do the same thing on bigger scale. Like, well, they were just as helpless.
No,
they were just as unarmed. They were in handcuffs in a truck on their way to do justice, and he blew them up. And yet we felt like that was the right thing to do. And I'm included, right? I'm like, wait a minute, that's psychological manipulation and storytelling, right? We're like, oh, well, this is framed different.
Well, so you get the great shot of the butler, like,
yeah, Alfred,
evil Alfred, yes,
yes. and I've been calling Baron Zemo the best Bruce Wayne. I would literally watch a Bruce Wayne show if they made Bruce Wayne this interesting. He's rich, he's got means, and he's a master chess player like Zemo is, but yet they keep giving us this lunkhead Bruce Wayne that's kind of behind the curve and dumb with a B. But yeah, so I just want to call people out that, Zemo does the same thing that Walker did, and we're okay with it, like, for some reason.
Well, perspective is many things.
And I think it's an authority thing, obviously. John Walker had the authority of the American government behind him with his actions, and Zemo is pretty much a renegade, guy doing what he wants to do, a vigilante. Mm-hmm. And so I'm being facetious with my framing, but still, like, we didn't care. Sure. That he killed. So we really didn't care about Kylie's group or how they get killed. We just want them to get killed correctly.
They have been framed as the villain, and therefore, they should be treated as such. I mean, which is an interesting thing is, while I like Sam's approach towards, finding a better tomorrow, and while we have learned that maybe the early trope of Marvel killing all its villains isn't the smartest thing, because we like to reuse things later on, and if you kill them, you can't. They still had to go that way with Carly and wipe that one off. They just made sure it wasn't Sam that killed her.
Yeah, I mean, she was two-dimensional. Like, there was really nowhere to go with her character. She kind of represented, this reminded me of 12 Angry Men, but like mixed with like an action movie, right? Like, it's pretty much, you can see the arguments, like, well, we believe this, and well, I believe he should go to jail, and and so it felt like a really nice, had the strong themes of a play, but also paced out to a TV show thing. And I think that's where the clunkiness comes in, because they stuffed in what they needed to get their message across, and they stuck the landing on that. But the ancillary stuff was like, okay, so all right, now that I'm thinking about it, like, why didn't like a SWAT team come down and catch? Like, if they knew, because it makes me wonder with Val, she knew so much stuff. It was like, did they even want Kylie to get caught? Like I think we're so easily drinking the Kool-Aid that she's for good, when she kind of intimated, like, I knew everything that was going on, which means I knew your homie died. I knew where Kylie was. I knew you took the serum. I knew all this stuff to get you to this point where now you're working directly for me and not for, above board. So
I don't think Walker has any idea what he's gotten into. I think he still thinks that he's playing for a side that may not be the side he's playing for, or it's just, they'll use her as the darker version, as Thunderbolt Ross is, if he's doing some underground, black ops, this is what U.S. agent was going to be used for, whether it's going to be Hydra or Shield or Thunderbolts or some, they
Secret Wars too.
The Secret Wars. Everyone could be a Scroll. We don't know.
Dude, Val is. I'm like, I could just. Guess what? You're working for us. Waka waka waka.
And but he is definitely getting played. He is not. He has no idea what he's gotten into.
I still relate to the guy. I've been in his shoes. Of being on the wrong side of an ideal. You know what I mean?
I'm a sucker for a redemption story. So I love that they gave him his moment. He came in already with this new shield that just got the crap beat out of it. It was awesome.
That moment where they showed his badge inside, his Medal of Honor, that, I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh, I served in the military, so I know what that means. That's not something to be taken lightly.
Right.
And, so the fact that he put it on the inside as his own personal totem, that's something that lost men do. Like, we try to find a anchor to anchor us to some form of success. Otherwise, we're like nuclear radiation. We just kind of explode out of control if we don't get enough validation of our own existence. So,
well, and I saw that as also a connection to Lamar.
Sure.
That was, again, the reminding of what he's fighting for, not just, country himself, but also that personal drive. But that they gave him that moment where he could choose, save the van, go after Carly, rescue, revenge. And he chose to go to the van. He chose to set Carly aside and give that up. And it's a small moment, but I think that was, again, that bit of redemption, the willingness that what was driving him to a murderous mistake.
Yeah.
That he didn't need to make. He can now see, like, that's not what's important right now. This is, and I think that's good for the character. I think that reinforces, that he is a person that is good where he's coming from. He might just be more likely to stumble and fall from a, black and white moralistic standpoint that we may look at, but that doesn't make him any less heroic.
And I want to say, for the record too, just to get this out there, I know they did a soft reboot with Sam. He was capping people left and right in Civil War. They kind of made it, bloodless, but I'm not an idiot, right? I know he was typical hero with a gun. But once he became frontman, that's when magically through editing the guns disappear. And, he's using, actually, to me, a lot more innovative ways to solve problems. I'm like, oh, man, this is pretty cool how his problem solving, through technology and, aeronautics is pretty interesting. So is it being more like he could just shoot the guy through the van or through the helicopter? So I just want to say, look, I know that in other movies, everybody was killing everybody.
Be kung fu left and right. Yeah,
they were doing kung fu left and right. So, and I think that's how Marvel's going to do their reboots. They're just going to slightly shift the character into a different context and just kind of hope you forget or don't think about too much that Baron Zemo was a sad boy that lost his family in city, and now he's kind of upbeat, chipper prison break guy. Because he's totally the prison break guy too. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But he's he's an amalgamation of a lot of archetypes we like. But I think the fact that they killed Kylie, but they gave us a Baron Zemo that I could care less about from the comic books, right? Like he wasn't like, oh, I got to get that Baron Zemo t-shirt.
I'm waiting for him and Evil Alfred on their next mission, for sure.
But yeah, he's evil Batman. I love the fact that he's evil Batman, or just Batman, pushed to a certain extreme. But he's the guy you can see having a dossier on all the heroes and how to beat them and what buttons to push to get them to fight each other. Because, wait a minute, that's literally what he did. That's what I'm saying. One reason I keep bringing this up because people like to pretend like DC can't get it right, where Marvel does more with less. Like he didn't have bad ears. He doesn't have the prestige of all the hundreds of comics of Batman, but yet they were able to nail that archetype pretty quickly. Within 6 episodes, we're like, oh, okay, cool. He's smarter. He's the smartest guy in the room, and he's going to manipulate his way through every situation. All right. I think I'm on board with this guy. So yeah. You can build a character archetype quickly, which they done, and they had to kind of rebuild Sam Wilson. They kept a lot of Frankenstein, a lot of the old parts. He's always been a sentimental, talk his way through his problems, but then they kind of grafted in this newer, more peaceful, side that worked.
They had a little Anthony Mackie actually into their Sam Wilson there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah. And a little bit of martial arts too. I was like, oh, he's doing flips now. Okay, yeah, that works.
Oh, hey, like I said, you got to give it up with Anthony, man. He has worked it. I've seen him doing it. He's done a couple of Netflix films and shows, and you can see where he's bringing all of his Marvel knowledge and workout and style. He's like, okay, I got to keep this going. I got to keep this up. I got a Marvel movie coming up. I got to stay in shape.
Yeah, and you bring up a point kind of accidentally. Is that this is like Marvel's banking on this guy, right? This isn't just another character in the MCU that's getting a Disney check. Like, hey, guy, we want you to be our next Captain America. Like, we can lose real world finances for making a bad choice here, right? And so it's not to be taken lightly. And I think anybody that's even got a small business like me knows that it's not a matter of just Disney making willy-nilly decisions. They know, like, okay, so here's a risk reward to basically taking a beloved character and passing the mantle to somebody that doesn't look like what were traditionally sold to Americans over the past 100 years of comics. So.
Well, sure. Well, and it's that willingness to invest in talent and bring it up. I mean, Sam's been Sam. He's been playing Sam Wilson, for half a decade or more at this point.
Yeah.
To build up this character, to establish everything, to build. I mean, first of all, Anthony Mackie is already a talented guy. Plus, they have been able to put in time and build the character around him. And I think it's paying off for Marvel. They've been smart to get great performances. They've been smart to get great actors. And now they're able to give them time to go, hey, we didn't do the perfect thing with you. We're going to stretch you out. We can put you in a series where now we can really develop the character stuff. And then we'll throw in the big screen where we'll have the big explosions and action sequences and stuff like that. I think they're finding that beautiful balance now.
Let me ask you a question. So I'm at my brain's, it's not like the butterfly effect almost. Now that I've seen these cinematic TV shows, now I don't want as many movies as I used to want. Are you going through that?
Well, it's been so long since I've seen a movie, man, that isn't like, again,
I want
big
movies.
Monkey fight big lizard.
I want movies, but I don't want like everything to be a movie now. Like, I don't want Moon Knight to be a movie. Like, just give me a 6-episode TV show. I think we're fine.
No, by far, there is so much more character-wise, story-wise that you can develop with a series than you can with a movie. And the quality now is so big, and everybody's got the big screen TV at home. We've basically created our own movie theaters. So No, I would much rather catch this. I don't mind spacing it out. Give me the big Avengers films on the screen, which is big and boom explosion. But yeah, give me the little adventures here.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I can munch on in between the big giant fair.
Well, I feel like if they give it, like, just say we're going into the next Captain America now, think about how much heavy lifting they don't have to do. Like, well, wait a minute, how did he get the shield? When did he get it? Like, what's Sam doing with it? Like, how did he? Now they can just move on with the story and not waste time trying to build it up and explain his origin story and all that. And I think they kind of learned that trick from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because, his story is up there with the Jesus story and the Batman origin. Like, we all know how Spider-Man got his powers. And so Marvel's skipping over that with his introduction. They were literally able to hit the ground running. And we were already, it was like bringing your own beer. We already love Spider-Man. Like, we're bringing that with us. Like,
we
just
were
don't
fine
mess it
with
up.
That. Yeah.
Like, just don't mess it up. Marissa Tomei is Aunt May. I'm with it. Okay?
And I haven't heard a single person that's like, are we going to finally see the Uncle Ben story in one of these series? Nobody cares that.
Nobody wants to see that anymore.
No.
Like, if I see one more Pearls, Batman, like, come on, guys, we know what.
And when you want to have your big Avengers film, great. But if you want to give me a series, again, which we keep talking about, and hopefully they will make, that is, some anti-hero team of Zemo and Walker, and you get half dozen other bad guys that we'll see peppered out through all of these come together. We will eat up. Just put them in a room and have them talk.
Well, I think Sharon would be in that mix.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I can whatever that evil group is. Sharon's probably going to be the evil Black Widow of the group. It's almost like they're kind of hybriding Dark Avengers and Thunderbolts together, but we don't know yet.
Sure. But that is something that you would much more enjoy and get a chance to really dive into from a 6-episode series.
Yeah.
Would you go and watch a movie? I mean, it's Marvel. We all pay for movies.
I'm gonna, but
not as likely. You're going to be like, no, man, I want to see the next, ba-boom that's going to be up there. It gives them so much more opportunity now. And the fact that they really are holding on to these characters and villains and realizing that this is a resource they can continue to dive into, I think is awesome. Wow, we've talked for quite some time on all this. We haven't even talked about Bucky yet. Well, very little. Well, look, Bucky's joy at seeing Sam as Cap was all over this episode. And that was beautiful. For a Bucky arc, we basically get a quick scene with him talking to finally giving some closure to the dad whose kid that he killed. I can't remember the character's name. I'm sorry about that.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah. And then some great scenes with him hanging out with Sam's family and being the cool uncle. Yeah. I don't know that we needed any more than that. Though I did think they kind of cut away pretty quick for the emotional moment of him like opening up to this guy explaining how he killed his dad. He killed his son.
A lot of people felt that. A lot of people felt that was cut away too quick. And I think,
but I also don't know how much more they could have done with it.
Right. I mean, they've already given us the sermon, right? And so to have another, down moment of man breaking down and da-da-da-da. So it reminded me of the scene. I know this is random access, but when Mr. White cuts off the ear in Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs, yeah.
Like they cut away so you can kind of imagine how painful that moment must be for the guy. Then they show him the next day, he's drinking, and so you're like, all right, he's coping with it pretty well. They shorthanded it, sure, but the scene that stuck out to me as one of the final parting scenes was the fact that they kind of walked away, like kind of collapsed together. Like they were doing like a guy side hug, like Sam and Bucky, and I was like, you know what, once again, you don't see a lot of intimacy between hetero men on TV. It's one of those things you don't think about till you think about it, right? And so I was like, that's a cool moment as well. Like men can show emotions too that don't involve, testosterone all the time. So,
Well, I mean, I think this was a great kind of formation of the Bucky and Sam relationship too. How, they were together because they had a mutual friend.
Right.
And now, even though they kind of joked with it in the previous episode, it's like, well, so now they're just two guys, professionals, not co-workers type thing. We have seen the formation of a strong friendship. I mean, by the time Bucky's invited to the cookout, as Ramona Floyd points out here in the chat, he is part of the family.
Right.
He's a character. These are people that will be dying for each other. Again, the joy that he's at. I mean, they did a great shot of Sebastian Sam's face, looking up with this big grin when he sees Sam appear really as Captain America, the shield and everything.
Yeah.
I think it was nice. The fact that you can see an intimacy and connection between two men like that and have it just be that. It's just because they've been through a lot and they know that they need each other to be the best versions of themselves. I think it's a great thing to see.
Yeah, even with Walker in the end, it kind of like he's so awkward. It became kind of like a Pixar movie where it's like, hey, yeah, I'm with you guys. It feels kind of good to be with you guys.
I can hang out with the guys now. You're not.
This guy's such a dork. He reminds me of Shrek or something. But he made him endearing to me at that. Like, look at this guy. He just needs people that aren't trying to kill him to hang around with. I mean, I know he had Battlestar, obviously,
sure, but
it goes and it's subtle. I'm not saying it's genius, but when you're going through PTSD like that, and see going through a grieving cycle, that's what you need is connectivity. I think the tendency for humans to self-isolate when we're going through a painful time is one of the most dangerous things you can do. And in my military training, they told us never let anybody that is going through a grief cycle be alone, basically be a pain in their ass, because that's when they start thinking the bad thoughts and all that stuff. So I like the fact that he got a new job. I mean, look, we know it's not going anywhere great, but I was there with his exuberance. I'm back. He felt like an athlete that got rehired from the team. All right, you survived the scandal, now you're quarterback again. Right. Which they set up. So,
Well, which is great is that now as U.S. agent, he's got another arc to kind of, can he be more than just, falling into a psychotic killer rage when he's in the midst of it? And will he end up being the heroic lead of whatever group or connection that he's at, bringing the no man left behind principle or something along those lines? It gives him
there. Yeah.
It gives him a whole new, again, arc that he could start to explore and go off with. Well,
I hate too pedantic, but he only killed one person. I know, what? But if we stack up the body count between the Winter Soldier.
He killed one person on social media with cameras around. That's like 50 people.
I get it. But like I said, we have a weird judgment system when we're imbibing entertainment, where we just really, I'm just saying, he didn't go so far over the line where he wasn't redeemable.
Look, I got my check mark list, and he was in the bad guy section, not in the good guy section.
Yeah. And once again, not doing apologetics for this guy. Don did enough of that. I'm just being objective. It wasn't, he just literally hunted the guy down, broke into his apartment, and killed the guy. It was in the heat of battle, and so it had a little fog of war essence on it that you wouldn't normally get with premeditated murder. That's all I'm saying. Not to get all legally, actually, but
if we look at the number of people that each person has killed, then we'll put them in this graph ratio. We'll be able to. Yeah, no, we don't need to do any of that.
Yeah. There you go. And really, I'm reading Warren's Navi Warren's. Walker was creepy at the end. He was like Negan to me. He killed Gil. You're never forgiven. So there you go. I tried to mitigate that, but couldn't do it.
Look,
don't hire me as your lawyer, please.
There's a lot of people that stopped watching Walking Dead after Negan killed Glenn. I completely understand that. In my own household, there were splits on that. So there are some lines from an audience, if you cross, you're done. And I get that.
Beloved character that they set up, had he killed Bucky Barnes, that would have been nuts burgers.
Well, yeah. Very true.
Yeah,
very
we keep once again having a whole different conversation, but they barely gave that boy band they call the Terrorists, the Flag Smashers, any enough where you're like, okay, that's Pretty Boy number 1, that's Pretty Boy number 2, and then there's Kylie because she looks like the chick from Brave. And I think they kept them flat on purpose. Like I said in an earlier discussion, you don't want to over sympathize with people that are clearly on the wrong side of thinking ideology. And anytime you're basically combining a social cause with a fascist cause, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And here's one thing I would also like to say to anybody is anybody can fall into that. That is not something that you have to be right-wing to do. Like, it's just when you think like, man, the best solution would be to just kill them all. And I've literally heard that from random people on any given side of the spectrum.
Yeah. No. I've done that. I think in any frustration, we all kind of get that. Well, if we just wipe them out, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Like, well, dude, yeah, but then there's
no. Once again,
it's not a different world. It's not a new world. It's just different.
In my book of things I learned from white people, like you can't kill everybody that doesn't agree with you. Fascism bad. Like they drill that in you with all the World War II movies we watched as a kid. Am I saying that obviously we're young, naive. I get that. And there's been a deconstruction of the World War II propaganda, but It's just weird how culturally a set of values were put into anybody that's like a Gen Xer on up, and then that next generation just got pretty much Vietnam tropes. Like it's all hell, it's all a conspiracy theory, Watergate, like I said before. And so it's weird being that fulcrum of when the trust in American values went pretty much downhill, never recovered. And I felt like the show dealt with that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one thing that it did do well is those senses of perspective and even grayness. I mean, again, it's dealing with race, it's dealing with power structure, it's dealing with political structure, it's dealing with, right and wrong, and when if you cross the line and not cross, or crossed it too much. And I think that was something that was kind of good for the show to deal with. It was something in 6 episodes, you had a breadth of storyline that you could dive into all of those. It's obviously not the end of our adventures because we have already heard Captain America 4. Well, okay, let's be specific on this. The showrunner is going to be writing the new Captain America 4 with Bucky. Marvel has already put out posters that have Sam Wilson, I said Bucky, in the Captain America outfit as the new Captain America. Marvel has not officially said there is a Captain America 4 movie on the slate coming up, but I think it's pretty much all guaranteed. Sam's got a big future leading the next group of Avengers, possibly, certainly film-wise. While we may or may not get another season of the show, we will definitely be seeing a lot more adventures of Sam, and I think that's
for sure.
Excellent.
For sure.
I do hope they fix the outfit a little bit, just because honestly, it just looked a little uncomfortable. And a couple of those scenes where he was moving, usually the Marvel stuff flows really nicely. And this looked a little bit like he had like the vest and a jacket and a couple of sweaters on, and Mom wanted to be sure he wasn't too cold out there.
And the thing is, they usually tweak between movies. I mean, Cap's never had 2 of the same costumes, but somebody said it, and I wish they wouldn't. And I'm going to infect you with this virus. This mental meme that I got is that it looked like Sam had tidy whities on his head. And once they said it, I was like, God damn it. I can't, now I can't unsee it because it does. But,
it does. And I'm actually glad you mentioned the bald eagle kind of look, because that makes a lot more sense. Because that is one of the other comments that I had heard was like, that's great because he's fully protected except for his head.
That was the
Which is totally open. So yeah, okay, there might be a helmet in the future. It is a great look, and again, it's totally comic accurate. And the fact that Marvel's been embracing a lot more of that, finding a way to really make that comic look come forward. What they did with Scarlet Witch was awesome. Mm-hmm. It looks great, but not cheesy. Even this looks good. only a little cheesy, but in a good way.
Well, and they also got, they got the biggest out. Like, oh, it's Wakandan tech. There's a button here I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, armor mode. Okay,
oh, yeah,
sweet.
for sure.
Now, the thing that, that has all of my stuff in it doesn't. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that, once again, grade Marvel on a curve. Wings, man. Like, they nailed wings. Like, they make me want a pair of those damn wings so I can do stuff with them. Like, they've usurped DC's "we'll believe a man can fly," and now I'm like, well, is this something that they're working on? Does this work?
Oh yeah, I believe that technology there totally
out there somewhere. Like, how much do I gotta save up to get a pair? Am I gonna go splat against my tallest building in my town? I don't know, but yeah. So they did a good job of making them dynamic. They don't seem like a burden. Most wing characters, you're like, Angel. Best example, you're like, oh, those things are going to get torn off first battle he gets into, and then you see them, with Sam's, they're a shield, they can pop away, they can brace him when Kylie's attacking him. I really like that moment. So hats off to Marvel's fight coordinator, because they're really squeezing every dynamic thing you could do with people with their power sets. You got to imagine they got people that watch anime doing the fight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I just loved how they he can use the thrusters in his suit as a kind of counter and adding and weight and punch and resistance. Like, yeah, that's brilliant. And it would totally make sense for the character. And yeah, you can ignore physics at that point. You've convinced me that there's reasons why it all works. And that's all that I need, Well,
what I realized is that I think it was a couple of episodes. It might have been even the first episode. I realized that they combined. He's pretty much Boba Fett and an X-Wing combined together. And once you realize that, he's got the gadgets of Boba Fett and the maneuverability of an X-Wing. And then you're like, okay, yeah. Like, my brain's kind of seen this already, so I'm not questioning it like I should be. Like, why am I into this? Like, why is this awesome as hell to see, like, a guy flipping and going through tight, like, oh, wait a minute, it's because we've seen it with X-Wings. And that's kind of Disney's downloaded that killer app from Lucasfilm, right? And integrated it into this show, which is what I also say about Walker, that he was kind of Marvel getting the Kylo Ren archetype, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's a guy you hate and we're going to redeem him. Good job. But it's like, they didn't wait too late. They didn't do it too soon. I think they're learning some things from their mistakes, which Marvel does make a lot of mistakes. But
hey, mistakes are fine. Just learn from them.
And they do. It's obvious that they do.
They do.
They even repurpose the same character from Solo. Right? So
that's right. They really did. They really did.
Hey, you kind of want to play the same character that you played. I know old boy said the same thing, but I mean, everybody made that joke. That's like a granddad joke at this point.
Yeah.
Because, it was so obvious that she was pretty much playing the same terrorist with a heart of gold.
But hey, if it works for you,
she does have a baby face.
And Disney's writing those checks, man. Do that all day.
I was literally disarmed by how adorable she was every time she was on. I literally would forget. They did a good job making you forget that she could like punch a hole through you. And I'm like, oh, just be good and go home. And oh shit, she just kicked him across the room. I forgot she had powers. I would have been a dead dummy trying to talk to this child like she was actually just a regular powered person. So I think it was a good juxtaposition. She reminded me of actually the Flag Smashers reminded me of a Spider-Man villain for some reason. Like I could see Spider-Man trying to fight these guys.
Sure.
And probably from the Miles Morales game, now that I think about it. Similar story beats with tech-driven enemies.
The blue mask with the red colors, kind of Spider-Man-ish colors
Before we end this, we got to talk about that tech the Flag Smashers were using. That looked like Oscorp tech, man. Like the ball looked like something that the Green Goblin would be using, and then the spider door locking thing looked like Green Goblin tech to me, or at least Hobgoblin.
That is an excellent point. That may be a sneaky way they're starting to insert Oscorp. Yeah. And again, we've got 5 years of unknown time frame, or who knows what type of companies have come up and people have appeared that have been important and established that we will all get to slowly learn over time. I was always curious what they were going to do with that 5-year jump, and now it's like a shot of brilliance.
Oh, they are
with what it
milking
can
that
give
jump.
them.
They are milking that jump for all it's worth. And the thing is, Spider-Man Far From Home made you believe they were just going to gloss over it. So I literally kind of checked out of the blip. Like, oh, okay, we're not even going to think about it. They're not thinking about it. We're not going to think about it. And then all of a sudden, WandaVision kind of centers you like, oh, wait a minute, we're supposed to be thinking about the blip? Then this, of course, dwells even deeper. So I really appreciate the in and around they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll find Phase 4 is. Phase 4 is telling the stories what have happened or built up from those 4 years or 5 years and such. And I think that's a smart way for them to start to reinvent things and reestablish things and have new power structures without everyone going, well, where did they come from? It's like, well, man, half the planet was gone. That's where they came from.
One thing I want to point out too is I think the furthest we are is Far From Home, right? That's like 8 months.
9 months ahead. Yeah.
9 months ahead. That's like the furthest from the blip we've gotten, right? Because WandaVision is like, what,
a few
3 days? A few weeks after
I think
the
it's
blip.
like 3 weeks or something like that.
And then this is set 6 months?
6 months or so. And
then
Far From Home is 9 months.
It's 9 months. And so that's just something to keep in your head as you're watching this, because it can easily seem like, oh, it's been 10 years since the blip. Like, no, we're still in 2021 compared to 2020.
Depending on when they set Shang-Chi in time-wise with all of this, they could use a huge chunk of his backstory as, growing up in the blip or exploring the world during the blip. And that's what part of changed all these. And maybe now that that's over, that's motivating back. Plus, we're adding another year or so on. So by the time we get to the next really big Marvel film, it's now 7 years have passed. MCU timeline wise, where they can establish whole new worlds and people and structures.
What's nuts is that this show and WandaVision to a degree, even though it was a different direction. So WandaVision dealt with spirituality in the spirit realm, and then this show's kind of dealing with the just nitty gritty down to earth realm. But we all know that they're going to go cosmic, and so I'm like very interested to see the expanded cosmic universe get the same texture as this through Loki. I'm guessing they're going to use Loki as that vehicle to get us more texture into the cosmic side of the Marvel universe.
I was going to say, I think that's the kind of perfect way, and that's why they're setting that particular next stepstone to see, okay, now this is what the giant multiverse and areas are like, so that when Doctor Strange comes in, if you've paid attention, you're not too confused. If you're haven't, then I don't know. They've always been good at making sure the movies connect. Yeah. Even if you remove the series, I think you could still watch next Captain America and go, oh, Sam got the shield from Cap at the end of Endgame, and now he's the new Captain America, and just take it with that without having to see this, particular issues of stories, which then can allow people to go back and watch the back issues of what they've missed.
Oh, I got a theory too on Baron Zemo. This is pure speculation. I think his butler is his father. I don't know why. It's just I could see them doing that.
Sure.
They just had some weird looks and glances at each other, and I could see him being the older Zemo. And so, because that glee he had, that almost like, oh, it felt good to be doing shit like this again. But
I get to blow up vans full of people again.
Yeah. So that's my little nerd theory on that.
Sure.
But I think Marvel's gonna make Loki into Doctor Who, which works. Plus, he was always falling through portals throughout the whole MCU, and so it's almost like, I know they didn't have this in mind, but it's just weird that now he's jumping through different timelines. But it does actually go with Norse mythology, and Loki could travel through time.
Sure.
It's one of those like, oh, Marvel, you guys are doing good work. And not like MCU, like Norse mythology Loki could travel through time. He was a pretty powerful character. They kind of nerfed him for the MCU for obvious reasons. Same way they did it with Vision and Scarlet Witch. But now I feel like, it's like they have a deep bench of powerful characters. Now they're like, all right, you're off the bench. Now that Captain America's gone, you're up. Thanos is gone. Okay, you're up. And I've been hearing rumbling that the big bad's going to be Kang the Conqueror. At least one of them. Kang the Conqueror is in the works.
He is actually Kane. Yeah, Kane's actually been set. I think that's not the Spider-Man one. I don't know if it's the next Spider-Man or something, but he is. I think they are setting Kane. Definitely, whether they're going to make him be the big bad or leading too. But yeah, he is definitely coming. I just wanted to mention here in the chat, NV Warren mentioning that Sands need a necklace suit now, just like the Wakandan stuff back home, which would be awesome. Yeah. It all nanotech collapses into a little.
Yeah, you just. I thought they were going to do that. But
that would be perfect. Ramona Void mentioning that, of course, with a vibranium suit now, hopefully Red Wing won't get broken anymore.
That's also true. People were upset about Red Wing getting broken. Like he's not a real bird. Imagine a real bird just getting like a down feathered pillow.
It wasn't a real bird, folks, and even Bucky wanted to take it out. So that's quite all right. Let's see. Silva Surfer mentioning hoping Sharon is a Skrull or working for the Contessa or Mandarin because she can't do that on her own. In his opinion, I think she's definitely playing in. Whether or not she's a Skrull, I don't know. Everybody could be a Skrull. That's the fun thing about.
Read the follow up though. There's a follow up to that at the very bottom that goes with.
Oh, sorry. Nah, she isn't Skrull. She's bitter. She's out for herself with her own agency. Piss someone off if she was made a Skrull. So if I don't believe a bitter white ex-agent can take over Madripoor, Mandarin of the Hand not knowing is insulting to me as a dork. Man, Silva, I love you. You are awesome. That is a fair point.
It is a fair point.
That is a fair point. I mean, ultimately, I think we'll probably find that that she probably hasn't always been the power broker, that might be like a title, and she has taken it over from the previous one.
Dude, anybody being a Skrull, she's definitely making Skrull moves. At least comic book Skrull, when they were bad guys. Now they're kind of the good guys, but either way, though, she's making moves to basically be entangled in a lot of different systems. And having shape-changing abilities would definitely help facilitate that. Sure. Which is why nobody would really know who the power broker was.
That would be very cool.
That would be. I'm not against it. I'm not against that.
Epic Zombie Killer popping in asking why I have stopped reviewing Walking Dead. Sure, I'll take a moment to do that. Honestly, the pandemic totally screwed me up. It took its break. It came back. I was really tentative with these added on 6 episodes. And to me personally, there was reason for. I found that they were all completely unnecessary. The first one was all right. The last one with Negan was good. Everything else in the middle was literal filler. Nothing happened to the characters. There was no difference from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. And if you haven't seen any of these, it will make absolutely zero difference with any story going forward. So honestly, I may wait to next season. Maybe I'll review, maybe back. My life's kind of crazy right now. And I didn't want to invest time in something that I would just rant about. I want to talk about fun things and be positive about the show. I don't want to that's why I stopped reviewing Fear the Walking Dead. Every episode just sucked worse than the one before it.
What do you mean? You don't want to review a show about a pandemic while you're in a pandemic? I don't see the irony here. No, I used to watch both of those. I jumped off those shows a long time ago. I actually came up with a new title for them. I called it "White People Suffering" because that's what it seemed like. Okay, how are we going to want white people suffer again? I think Walking Dead would be a great miniseries, or would have been. A great miniseries where it had a beginning, middle, and end. But I think, unless you're going to keep it going like a daytime soap opera, it's inevitably going to lose steam.
It's hard to keep a show going on. I really push through a lot. I even like some of the newer stuff that they've done. I think they've changed some things, but I think at a point, a season, at least a couple seasons ago, they sort of lost their way and they've been making things up. And I don't know. There's just something lacking from it. I still watch the show, but it's a big investment for me to do a review, especially the old way I used to do it when I'd film and edit and post up. It was hours. So I didn't want to do that if it wasn't a show I was enjoying.
The book stayed good for quite a long time. I remember was it the Whispers or what were they called? The Corpse?
The Whispers. They just finished that arc on the show.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that was still bad. See, I didn't watch it, but.
Well, again, this will get into a whole other thing.
Okay, let's not do it.
It's time and storytelling, folks.
All right.
But yes, just a time-wise is why I'm doing reviews and discussions more in an open format like this than in my old classic one. So that's what's going on.
I'm being total peanuts gallery. I got no skin in the game. I'm just egging you on like, come on, man. What do you got to lose?
Oh, thanks. All right. So I think that pretty much covers it all. Again, more of a reflection, philosophical discussion as opposed to the actual episode. The episode, good. A nice close off to the season or series, depending on what they decide to do going forward, with some great perfect scenes with Sam Wilson living up as the new Captain America, and a little redemption arc for Bucky, and some tie-ins for future storylines that we'll get to see. We do have a little break here as Disney is dropping the Bad Batch Star Wars animated series, which we will not be reviewing here. I will be watching it though, but we will be breaking until probably Loki comes out. I know there's a couple of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews we owe you. Hang on, we will get to those as soon as we can. But the next one definitely scheduled out is going to be Loki, which I believe is in June. And we will continue having these big weekly discussions, getting into each episode and where that's going to lead. And of course, a lot of lore on top of that. So I want to thank Terry for joining us. Terry, always appreciate talking with you. I want to thank everybody who has joined us in the chat. Envy Warren, Ramona Floyd, Epic Zombie Killer, Silver Surfer. We had Devontae Smith in here a while ago. Lily Mack as well. Thank you all so much for joining us live. Everyone who is watching in the archives. Before we time out, Terry, let everyone know where they can find you and your cool ass artwork.
Terry Huddleston Art is where you can find me. And just terryhuddlestonart.com, obviously. Well, put that in the Google machine and you will get to the place you want to be. So, yep.
Excellent. And of course, I'm D. You're watching D's Reviews. You can always catch me right here on Instagram and the Twitter at Darren Jakes. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy these. And of course, look forward to our Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews with Rob and Corey and Don coming at you as soon as we can sort of finish orchestrating all of our stuff. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for joining us with all of these reviews, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.